welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live every day, Monday to Friday, from noon to 1 from the Question Tequila Studios. We used to be high atop the financial capital of the world, but right now we're in the Grand Central Times Square area at Newsmax headquarters studio, and things are going grand so far. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, which we talk about every single day, is raging. When the Fed indicated yesterday that they took out the word patience, they may cut one more time before the end of the year. Market loved it. The Dow right now is at 26.7. I thought it could be about 27. We're going to talk about that a little later. And Bitcoin also at 9,300 continues to find support above 9,000. And I think 10,000 could be in your near future if you're a Bitcoin investor. And in your near future right now, joining me as always, my co-host and managing editor of Liquid Lunch, Frankie Morano.
Hello there, John.
Good afternoon.
Absolutely. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to everybody else in the rest of the country. And that Federal Reserve story is one of the stories that we're following for all the latest news on what's happening on the world, around the country, and in your neck of the woods. Take a look at this. Tensions between the United States and Iran are running high after Iran shot down an unarmed U.S. Navy drone. American officials say the drone was in international space, but Iran claims the drone was in Iranian airspace on a spying mission. U.S. defense officials have said this was an unprovoked attack. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. The benchmark rate remains between 2.25% and 2.5%. Talking with reporters yesterday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said the economy has been performing reasonably well this year. He warned about some cross-currents overseas and possible impacts on the United States economy. President Trump has been pushing for a rate cut and has been critical of Powell, who he chose to replace Janet Yellen last year. And finally, 3 more U.S. senators received a classified Pentagon briefing yesterday about a series of reported encounters by the Navy with unidentified aircraft, according to congressional and government officials. This is part of a growing number of requests from members of key oversight committees. The interest in unidentified aerial phenomenon has grown since revelations in late 2017 that the Pentagon had set up a program to study the issue at the request of then-Senator Harry Reid. Officials interviewed multiple current and former sailors and aviators who claimed to have encountered highly advanced aircraft that appear to defy the laws of aerodynamics when they intruded on protected military airspace, some of which were captured on video and made public. Hopefully, the truth is out there. You know, John, in any other era, if we had senators, multiple senators getting briefings from the Pentagon about UFOs or, unidentified aerial phenomenon, unknown aerial phenomenon, that would be a front page story in every newspaper for weeks. But in the Trump era, it barely gets a blip on the radar screen. I think that's a pretty interesting story.
I mean, we've been talking about this UFO stuff for a couple of weeks now. We have naval footage showing that naval pilots, who are some of the brightest people on earth, are saying, what the heck was that?
Yeah, you saw some of the video.
Super
just there.
speed. And Frankie, you talked about the Chairman Powell and the Fed. Mm-hmm. I want to go back, because I always want our audience, we have some fun here. We have a drink. We have some food usually. And we'll come back to you next week with today all the most delicious delights and delicacies you could ever imagine when we're in the new studio. But today it's a true liquid lunch, just tequila. What we've been talking about on the show is simple things like little trading tips. And I don't want to just talk politics. We want our viewers to kind of learn something from watching the show too. And just a week back, I spoke about a simple thing called support and resistance, which people should understand if they trade. And I think Rosie has the chart we used just last Thursday, about a week ago, and there were levels that I was pointing out that if it breaks below here, it could go all the way down, and if it breaks above here, it could go all the way up. And both Bitcoin and the Dow Jones Industrial Average were both at the same place where they were about to break through. You could see that red line that says resistance on top of it, and you could see the blue line coming up to it. That's the support. And stocks trade between those ranges, and then they come to a point where that circle is. And if some good news or something comes out and it breaks through the resistance, it starts to get some new support in there. It goes to new highs. And what's happening with the Dow is just that. I said if it broke through 26, Frankie, 27 was in the near future for it. I said 8,000 on Bitcoin was the next level, and through that it would go to 9. Here's what we were talking about just last week. I've been saying for a while that the market breaks through 26,000 and rests above there and gains a little support, could rocket right to 27,000. Same exact thing I told you last Friday with Bitcoin at 7,900. Through 8,000, any stabilization in that, Bitcoin could be back to 9,000.
Not a bad prediction.
No, I mean, it wasn't a prediction. I want our audience to learn simple things from the show, not just, act like we're drunk, but there's actually smart stuff happening. And as we sit here today, the Dow Jones, after the good news out of the Fed, is almost at 27.
Well, and this is what I take issue with, okay? Why is it good news that people who have saved their whole lives and just want a little bit of interest on their savings, they get screwed again so that super wealthy people can borrow money and put it in the stock market? I don't view it as good news at all. I think on the one hand, it shows that the Federal Reserve is not as confident in the fundamentals of the economy as we'd like it to be. And two, the savers are once again the people holding the bag. Look, I've got $38,000 of credit card debt. I'm all for zero interest rates. Keep them as low as possible. But if you're doing the things that we want to encourage in an economy, savings and stocking some money away for a rainy day and not living just on debt, I see this continued low interest rate addiction from the Federal Reserve as just a bubble creating machine.
Well, Frankie, there's two sides to every coin, and I understand where you're coming from. And I know a lot of our audience, they're in the later years and they're relying on income off their savings. And when the rates were down at zero because the big banks got bailed out, those people who were seeking income had to go take a little more risk in the market to get the returns they need. And I have been a big advocate, and this is one place where I depart from my support of Donald Trump, but what you don't understand, and here's another little 101 thing, the higher interest rates go, savers get a little more income, so they like that. That's good for savers, and I like savers to get income. But also, more importantly, spurring the economy, the other side of this is, as rates go higher, banks are willing to take a little more risk to get a bigger return, and that creates access to capital for small businesses. So I'm not all for the interest rate cuts. I am actually for a couple more increases, and it also leaves the Fed some cushion. If we have a slowing or a tightening in the economy, then they can pull the rates back down for a little safety blanket.
If they keep the rates at nothing, when there is a downturn, and one day there will be, it could be a year from now or 10 years from now, what valve are they going to open up? But
they're not at nothing.
Right,
they're at 2.5, and they're holding steady for now. We'll hear more, I guess, in July. But for now, savers are okay, and the market is great.
Well,
so let's hope it stays this way.
I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit later on all this political news from the two Robs that we have on our panel today. On the right, Robert Hornak, and on the left, Rob Taub. But I'm really looking forward to hearing from Colonel Daniel Davis coming up next in terms of Iran. But I want to take advantage of your crypto expertise and your finance expertise in taking a look at what the Senate Banking Committee is doing. Now, it's not just the House and your friend Maxine Waters who is doing some oversight of Facebook's new cryptocurrency,
Ridiculous.
Libra.
Ridiculous.
But now the Senate Banking Committee, they've announced they're going to hold hearings. We don't know what witnesses they're going to call, but Congress is taking a pretty close look at this. You seem a little unhappy.
I'm not unhappy. It's actually a joke. It's funny. This is like comedy. You have the financial service committees of both the House and the Senate Banking Committee saying they want, whoa, hold up on this Facebook cryptocurrency. We want to take a closer look at it. They have no idea what they're talking about. It seems that both chairs and those following on have no idea even that the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has weighed in on this. And securities tokens, just like the Libra coin, are out there trading already. It's legal. It's permissible under U.S. federal securities laws. And now this guy Crapo wants to come swooping in from Idaho and be some kind of cryptocurrency expert?
Well, Crapo is not our kind of guy because, unlike me, even though I'm a heavy drinker, Mike Crapo, Senator Crapo, Chairman Crapo, was arrested for drinking and driving 7 years ago. So we on Liquid Lunch encourage you to enjoy your Cuestión tequila responsibly.
If we want to know about potatoes, maybe we call on Senator Crapo.
That's right.
And if we need some fresh, organic U.S. vodka, maybe we smash up some of his potatoes. And I'll be out there in Idaho, coming out there to the Canyon Creek Classic golf tournament. I might hunt down this Crapo guy and see. But I think it's ridiculous. I think Facebook is really smart to take advantage of this. Millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, they're all getting into the cryptocurrency craze. And truthfully, the banks are going to hate this. This is why the banking committee is swooping in, because Crapo and these other guys, they're on the dole to the big lobbyists for the big banks. And the banks don't want this to happen because what this coin does, it's backed by cash, okay? And it's not on the blockchain. It's based on a stable coin, so it's stable. It's backed by your cash, okay? But you can buy services and goods and transact with other people. And you know that pesky little 3% merchant fee that's getting passed on to you on every purchase? With cryptocurrency, it eliminates the middlemen. There is no need for a middleman. Those people don't get paid that 3% anymore, and you and the merchant win.
Well, John, before we break, and I know you had a couple other things you wanted to mention. Hopefully we can do it, if not here, throughout the program. Yesterday we showed the exclusive video from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Instagram feed in which she compared the migrant detention centers on the border to concentration camps. Well, now she's being criticized by New York's mayor, Democratic presidential candidate Bill de Blasio. Now, this was a very rare day where Bill de Blasio was actually in New York City, and we have video courtesy of MSNBC of Mayor de Blasio taking issue with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's characterization of concentration camps.
I respect her greatly, and I feel very close to her in terms of philosophy, but of course she was wrong. You cannot compare what the Nazis did in concentration camps, unfortunately, is without any historical. I mean, it's a horrible moment in history. There's no way to compare.
Seems like you and the mayor might be on the same page on this one.
Without a doubt. It's rare that we agree. It's rare that I agree with Jon Stewart, but I've agreed with de Blasio and Jon Stewart in the same week, which is crazy to me. And it's crazy to me that we're in the Newsmax headquarters here in New York. It's also the most important woman in my life's birthday, Mom. Happy birthday. Liquid Lunch, Rob Hornak, Rob Taub, coming up right after this.
Stay tuned for more Liquid Lunch Live. We'll be right back.